You have heard the stories, you know the rules. A mortal does not challenge a god. To do so is to invite retribution that echoes for eternity. A liver eaten by eagles, a thirst that can never be quenched, a name cursed from memory. But this is a story about the exception. What if I told you that sometimes the retribution is not a sign of the gods' power, but of their shame? That the fury of Olympus is not always righteous anger, but the panicked rage of being made to feel small? Tonight, we do not speak of mortals who angered the gods. We speak of three who did something far worse. They held up a mirror to the divine and forced them to look away in humiliation. This is the story of how you outwit a god, outcreate a goddess, and break the will of a king with nothing more than mortal hands, mortal art, and a mortal heart. Mortal number 1, the king who caged death. Imagine you are a god, not a king of gods, but a specialist. Your domain is singular, your purpose absolute. You are Thanatos, you are death. You are not a force of violence, but of finality. When a mortal's thread is cut by the fates, it is you who guides them from the world of light to the world of shadow. Your authority is UN-questioned, your arrival is inevitable. Until one day, it is not. You arrive in the kingdom of Corinth, at the palace of a man named Sisyphus, a king known more for his cleverness than his piety. His thread has been cut, his time is up. But when you enter his chambers, he does not cower. He smiles. He compliments your fearsome majesty, your somber grace. He asks to examine the very chains you carry, the adamantine shackles meant for him. He marvels at their craftsmanship. He asks you, with feigned ignorance, how they work. And in a moment of cosmic pride, you demonstrate. You show him. You click the fetters onto your own wrists. The trap is sprung. The silence that follows is heavier than any mountain. Death itself is now a prisoner in a mortal's basement, and the world breaks. On the battlefields, warriors run each other through with swords, only to pull the blades out and stare in confusion. The old and the sick linger in endless agony, denied their final release. The priests pray to a silent underworld. The order of the universe, the sacred cycle of life and death, has been severed by one man's wit. This was not a challenge of strength. Sisyphus did not raise an army against Hades. He used a god's own pride as a weapon against him. He turned the divine tool of imprisonment into a cage for the divine itself. For days, perhaps weeks, the gods are made impotent. Ares, the god of war, is furious that his bloody work has lost its meaning. Hades, the lord of the dead, finds his kingdom empty, his purpose a mockery. They had been played. A king of a tiny, mortal kingdom had single-handedly shut down one of the fundamental pillars of reality. When Ares finally storms the palace and frees Thanatos, the punishment for Sisyphus is legendary. A boulder, a hill, an eternity of meaningless labor. But you must ask yourself the question, why that punishment? Why not simple oblivion? Because his crime was not defiance. His crime was humiliation. He forced the gods to concede that their eternal order could be undone by a clever mortal with a silver tongue. And so his punishment was designed to be the opposite of his triumph. His brilliant mind, which had solved the riddle of mortality, was condemned to a task requiring no thought at all. His one glorious act of stopping a cosmic cycle was answered with an eternity in a meaningless one. They didn't just punish Sisyphus, they were trying to erase the memory of how thoroughly he had outsmarted them. Mortal number 2, the weaver who wove the truth. Now, stand in a different scene. You are not a god, but a mortal in a sun-drenched village in Lydia. You are in a crowd, gathered to watch a contest. The air crackles with an energy that feels both holy and dangerous. On one side stands a figure of imposing, severe beauty. Her eyes hold the wisdom of strategy and the coldness of the owl. This is Athena, goddess of wisdom, craft, and righteous war. On the other side is a girl. Her name is Arachne. She is nobody, a simple dyer's daughter. But her hands are something else entirely. When she works the loom, they are not hands, but blurs of motion, conduits for an art so perfect it feels impossible. She has claimed she is a better weaver than the goddess herself. A challenge of hubris. That is what the stories call it. But it was more than that. It was a challenge of identity. Athena, in disguise, had warned her. She had urged the girl to be content with being the best of mortals. But Arachne refused. Why? Why would she risk everything? Because for Arachne, her art was not a craft. It was the truth, and she believed the truth of her skill was absolute, greater even than a goddess's claim to it. The contest begins. Two looms, side by side. Athena weaves a masterpiece of divine propaganda. You can almost see the thread shimmer with power as she depicts the majesty of the gods, their glorious victory over giants, and her own triumph over Poseidon for the city of Athens. It is a warning. It is a tapestry that says, "We are the gods. We are power. Know your place." It is beautiful. It is flawless. Then you turn your eyes to Arachne's loom, and you feel the air go cold. Arachne is not weaving a challenge. She is weaving a testimony, a confession. Her tapestry is an exposé of divine hypocrisy. In stunning, undeniable detail, her threads show Zeus, in his many disguises, pursuing mortal women. She shows Poseidon's brutality, Apollo's cruelty, Dionysus's deceptions. She is weaving the secret, shameful history of Olympus. And here is the true humiliation. She is doing it with more skill, more life, more breathtaking beauty than the goddess herself. The work was perfect. The art was undeniable. The truth it told was unbearable. Athena saw her father's crimes, her brothers. She saw the ugly truth of her perfect family, woven into a canvas more brilliant than her own. She was not defeated. She was exposed by a mortal girl. A goddess of wisdom had been shown a truth she could not deny, and a goddess of craft had been surpassed in her own domain. Her rage was not the fury of an insulted god. It was the frantic, violent shame of someone whose carefully constructed image has been shattered. She tore Arachne's masterpiece to shreds. She beat the girl with her shuttle. And when Arachne, in her despair, tried to hang herself, Athena did not grant her the peace of death. She transformed her, her body shrinking, her fingers elongating into spindly legs. She was to be a spider, condemned to weave forever. Yes, but also to have her beautiful work constantly destroyed, brushed away from corners, seen as a thing of dust and revulsion. The goddess could not beat her art, so she made her art a curse. The humiliation was so complete that the only answer was to silence the artist forever and to turn her name into a creature people crush without a thought. Mortal number 3, the queen who starved the world. Our final story is different. It is not about wit or art. It is about a force more fundamental, a power so primal that it brought the entire pantheon to its knees. It is the story of a mother's love. You know of Demeter, the goddess of the harvest, of the life-giving grain. Her power is the warmth of the sun on the soil. Her joy is the green shoot breaking through the earth. And the center of that joy, the heart of her world, is her daughter Persephone. When Hades, the grim king of the underworld, abducts Persephone and drags her into his lightless realm, Demeter's response is not to wage a war. She does not raise armies or forge weapons. She simply stops. And in her stopping, she starves the world. Imagine it. First the crops wither in the fields. Then the leaves fall from the trees out of season. The soil turns to dust. The cattle grow lean and die. The cries of starving children echo in the villages. Humanity is on the verge of extinction. They burn their last scraps of food as sacrifices to the gods, but their prayers turn to ash in the sky. The gods of Olympus begin to panic. Zeus, the king of them all, who could shake the world with a thunderbolt, is made powerless. Why? Because the smoke from mortal sacrifices is what nourishes the gods. It is the scent of their power. With humanity gone, their temples would fall silent, their relevance would cease. He sends messenger after messenger to Demeter, Iris the rainbow, Hermes the swift. The greatest of the gods come to her, offering her priceless gifts, begging her to let the world live again. And this goddess, her divinity cloaked in the raw corporeal grief of a mortal mother, refuses them all. Her answer is simple: no daughter, no life. This is the ultimate humiliation for a king like Hades. He, the lord of 1 billion souls, ruler of the final kingdom, was brought to the negotiating table. He was forced to compromise. He, whose laws were absolute, was compelled by Zeus to release his new queen. His great prize was torn from him, not by a stronger army or a cleverer trick, but by the stubborn love of a mother who simply refused to do her job. Even the trick of the pomegranate seeds was not a victory for him, but a concession. He could not keep her. He was forced to share. He, the master of the permanent, was forced to accept a cycle, a mortal emotion. Grief had successfully blackmailed the entire divine order. The gods, for all their power, were reminded that their existence was tied to the fragile, fertile earth, and that the earth was tied to a bond they had underestimated, the love of a mother for her child. So, how do you humiliate a god? You don't meet them on their terms. You do not challenge their strength with your own. That is a fool's game, a moth flying into a star. No, the path is more subtle. You reveal that their systems are flawed, that their order can be broken by a single clever mind. You prove that your mortal hands can create a truth more powerful than their divine authority. You show them that a human heart can hold a power so absolute it can starve them into submission. Sisyphus, Arachne, Demeter, their stories are remembered as tragedies of hubris, but they are also legends of a terrifying power. The power to hold a mirror up to the heavens and force the gods to see their own reflection, their pride, their hypocrisy, their vulnerability. And for an immortal being there is no greater humiliation than to be reminded, just for a moment, that they are not so different from us after all.